queer politics, sex, and culture. Outcast world.
For example, when we were in Miami Pride, it was right after the drag bans had been introduced in Florida, and I wanted to speak to some local queens there. And it's actually quite hard to find some of those online because a lot of them maybe don't have big social media presences. And so what Grindr's really great for is messaging a few of the people that live there and just saying, hey, I'm needing to speak to a few drag queens in the area. Who do you know? And you get back a long list, and it just...
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's a great way of using it. You must have come across, obviously, within the content you've done or other content, Grindr and Grindr stories. How does Grindr play out in the media?
I think Grindr is often given quite a bad stigma in the sense of I think there's still a lot of shame around sex in the community especially, and because Grindr promotes healthy sex lives for the most part, I think there is still a lot of internalized shame that a lot of people carry with having Grindr, and I think that does translate especially in queer media in terms of people often focus on the negative stories and the more clickbaity stories, like when something goes wrong with Grindr, as opposed to focusing on maybe the positives that come from it, such as friendships, community, especially when you're traveling or if you're going to a new place. So I do think it gets quite a bad rep in the media. Do I think that's necessarily fair? No.
That's good, yeah. I agree. I think that the stories that I sort of see and that we focus on naturally are the sort of the bad stuff and obviously things going wrong. I think Grindr does have that place, obviously, that it supports the community. Do you think that we could be sort of gentler on them and think about like the positives and share some positive stories?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a big space for the positive stories from Grindr to be told. I don't think those are being told enough. I think when you look at the positives of Grindr as an app and maybe as the team behind it, there's a lot of effort to safeguard users. There's a lot of effort to make sure users can actually get what they want from it, such as filters. You can change your location on it to see who's maybe around ahead of going somewhere. So they're definitely thinking of how they can give people the best opportunity to use it for what they want to. But I think because the bad stories are easy, it's easier to sell fear and danger than it is to sell community and unity. And so Grindr, unfortunately, is sort of weaponized as part of that in a lot of ways because people focus on the hookup side, they focus on when something goes wrong, as opposed to I assume millions of people who would say that they've made a good friend from it or met a partner from it, or even just, gone somewhere and met someone new once and never seen them again but had a really positive experience with them.
I guess that's really interesting to use the word weaponized, because I think that's a lot of the time what we're doing with, obviously, we throw sort of Grindr around as a bit of a negative, even not just the media, but even in conversation like, oh, you're on Grindr, it's a little bit judgmental. Why do you think we are so judgmental of this app?
I think a lot of it is linked to gay shame, not to make it a bigger thing, but I think ultimately queer sex and gay sex in particular has been stigmatized for a really, really long time. And we're only really seeing within the community itself that coming to an end now-ish. And I even say that with a very much tentative, I'm not sure that it is ending, but Grindr I think is inherently part of that, because Grindr is the idea that you would want to go and hook up with someone that you've maybe never met is something that has gone on for the whole of time. But the accessibility that Grindr has given to it is what's changed. And so I think the reason Grindr's given that stigma and the reason it's treated as this sort of dirty thing by some people is because maybe they have their own shame as to how they approach sex. And, if you are someone that's quite, introverted maybe when it comes to sex, I think it's really hard to fathom the idea that other people might be using Grindr to go either for a hookup or to meet someone for a date that they've never met, or to just meet a new friend or even network for work. And so I think it's given that stigma because of what surrounds the shame of being gay.
I think also it's very much like it's so easy to judge and to hide behind profiles. And Grindr sort of facilitates this in a way because people get trolled, obviously people have fake profiles, catfish profiles, blank profiles, as we've discussed before. A lot of people call it a hookup app, but a lot of people are using it for business, for finding friends,
I think the thing to remember about Grindr is no different to any other app in the sense that users can use it for what they want, right? So when people do want to say, oh, it's a hookup app, for example, you can use social media platforms as a hookup app. I know a lot of people that go on Instagram and meet their new boyfriend or the next person they're going to be with.
Slide into that DM.
And we make jokes about that. And it's interesting because you made that joke just now, but actually a lot of people wouldn't make that joke about Grindr. I'm not saying that about you, but in general, I think that joke about Grindr isn't there.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say there are right reasons to use it. I think if you're using it for whatever you want it to use for, as long as it's not hurting anyone and it's consensual, I don't see the issue with it. I'm a big believer in the fact that if there's something that's specifically for LGBTQ plus people, why is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
I think there's never going to be, in my opinion, you just can't have enough stuff that's tailored solely to the community. And so Grindr is a great example of that, where, as you mentioned, it connects people that just wouldn't have met. And that's actually really important, because we're not just talking about a friend you wouldn't have met, but then you've got hundreds of other gay friends you can go out with. We're talking about people who maybe would have never met another gay person in their lifetime, potentially.